It happens sometimes that when you know a person very well, and then later you see his son who resembles him, sometimes you would call his son by the name of the father. And sometimes this happens unintentionally, just because he resembles the father, automatically the name of the father comes out. Sometimes people would do it intentionally, that because they were so close to the father, they intentionally would call the son by the father's name. This happened also by the Rebbe, in the Rebbe Yoel. The Rebbe Yoel told me that Tovshin Yud Beis, we know that that's when the Rebbe started giving the bracha to the Bochrim before Kol Nidrei. So what happened then was that it used to be that during the day of Erev Yom Kippur, when a group of Anash would form, they would go into the Rebbe for a bracha. Later on, another group would form, they would go in again for another bracha. Different people for a bracha. Then a third group would form, they got a bracha again. So Tovshin Yud Beis, it happened that 3 groups went in. In the third group, Rabbi Yoel was one of them, he was a bocher then. And when the Rebbe finished the bracha to the group, the Rebbe called him over and he said to him, Zog die Bochrim, as tell the Bochrim that they could come in later. And he said that even those that were here by these regular bracha for Anash, they could come in later again. And when they came in, the Rebbe was already dressed with his kittel and wearing his talis, and he looked at every one of the Bochrim, and then he covered his face and started giving the bracha. But he told me that when the Rebbe called him over, when he was standing there in the third group, and the Rebbe called him over to tell the Bochrim to come in later, the Rebbe called him Folle. He called him by his father's name. Rabbi Yoel's father's name is Reb Folle. So the Rebbe called him Folle, and took him a moment till he realized who the Rebbe is referring to, and he walked over, and that's when the Rebbe told him to call the Bochrim in. So here we see, I don't know the reason why he did it, whether it's intentionally or other kavanas, but this is what he said, the Rebbe said, that he called him by his father's name when he told him to tell the Bochrim to come in.